Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. So Sergio Romero is reportedly close to leaving Manchester United. Valencia have contacted Manchester United over the possibility of signing Sergio Romero, and Valencia are willing to pay around £6 million for him. Now, it also mentions that Everton have been interested in Romero, and so too have Leeds United. It said actually quite a few weeks ago that Villa were interested in him, and it was stemming from the Athletic saying that a fee of around £8 million had been agreed between Villa and Manchester United for Sergio Romero. Sergio Romero will leave the football club because obviously now he is third choice goalkeeper because Dean Henderson recently returned, and Sergio Romero won't want to stay at the club as third choice goalkeeper. Sergio Romero has made 61 appearances for Manchester United, and he's got just under a year left on his contract, but I think the club do have an option to extend it for a further year. Sergio Romero has endured around 5 years with the football club. We got him on a free from San Pandora back in 2015. But obviously since his arrival, he has been our second choice goalkeeper behind David De Gea. And last season, Sergio Romero played in all our League Cup games prior to the semi-final. I think he played in all our Europa League games prior to the semi-final. And I think he played in all our FA Cup games prior to the semi-final. So he does play a lot in the Cup games. So that is the breaking news on him. Now I want to delve into some news on Daniel James, because there's huge developments on him. So reportedly Leeds are going to make a second approach for Daniel James. It says Leeds are going to be putting in around a £12 million bid with add-ons included. Now, we got Daniel James for around £18 million last summer. And last season, Daniel James played a lot. From my own perception, I think Ole Gunnar Solsjaer overplayed him. And he's made around 34 appearances for us in the Premier League. But towards the end of last season, Daniel James, wasn't really getting any opportunities. Now, don't forget, back in January 2019, Daniel James was very, very close to joining Leeds United. Everything, I think, was agreed. But right at the end, Swansea had pulled out of the deal. Leeds could even possibly get him on loan. But do you think it would be the right decision by Manchester United? Well, probably, yeah, because obviously he's finding game time very, very difficult now. So, yeah. So that is the breaking news on Daniel James. Now, do you think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is under pressure at Manchester United? Because we did lose our first game of the Premier League season against Crystal Palace by 3-1. And that was the first time in Crystal Palace's history that they'd won their first 2 games in the top flight. And it was the second season in a row that we'd lost to Crystal Palace at Old Trafford in the Premier League. Solskjaer had given his perception on the game, and he admits, that Manchester United are not good enough. He said we deserve to be beaten. But he did disagree with the penalty decision. He believes that it shouldn't have been retaken. Also, Gary Neville disagrees with the penalty decision. But Solskjaer, got quite a few things wrong, didn't he? Why did he start Foster-Mensah at right back? Why didn't Wan-Bissaka start at right back? Why didn't Mason Greenwood start on the right wing? Instead, Solskjaer decided to start Daniel James. Donny van de Beek, he didn't start the game, but he obviously came on and scored on his Premier League debut. David De Gea obviously started in goal. I don't really have a perception on him at the moment. I'll give you more of a perception maybe after the next 3 to 4, maybe even 5 games. But maybe there'll be some Manchester United fans now that are critical of Ole Gunnar Solsjaer. Now, don't forget the first part of last season, we enjoyed our worst start ever to a Premier League season. And at that point, Solskjaer was very, very close to getting sacked by the football club. And there was talks of Mauricio Pochettino coming in. And there was also talks of Massimiliano Allegri coming into the club. But I give you the reasons why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did not get sacked. But I think he is partly to blame for our inconsistency. I think there's also certain players that you have got to blame as well. But I think actually the vast majority of the blame stems from the board. Because basically the board are not spending any money at Manchester United. And I don't think Woodward and the Glazers are backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough. And, Woodward did say that he's determined to back Solskjaer. Also, the Glazers said that they're determined to back Solskjaer. But we've been very, very critical of the board for several years anyway. Reflecting how poor our recruitment policy's been. We've also overpaid for players. I think we've made a lot of mistakes in the last 7 years, and that's one of the main explanations why we've been so inconsistent. I think the managers that we've had since Ferguson retired have not been backed enough. And, this is why Woodward's been at the football club since 2012, so he's been with us around 8 years, and the Glazers have been with us since 2005. But Solskjaer has said, that he's very frustrated with the board over the lack of transfer business in this summer transfer window. We've only made one signing so far in this summer transfer window, and that was Donny van der Beek, and we're very delighted with that signing. But Solskjaer said, he wants to make 3 signings after Donny van der Beek. And we're missing out on a lot of our targets. Obviously, we missed out on Sergio Reguilon. He went to Tottenham, we missed out on Bale. He's gone back to Tottenham. We missed out on Erling Haaland in January. We also missed out on Jude Bellingham. We also missed out on Jack Grealish because he recently signed a 5-year deal with Aston Villa. So there's a lot of players that Manchester United have missed out on. But Solskjaer's publicly admitted that Manchester United have got to spend money in this summer transfer window. And is it like 3 weeks or just under 3 weeks left until the summer transfer window shuts? We can't only focus on the incomings, we've also got to focus on the outgoings as well. Because it's very imperative that we sell players in this summer transfer window. Because obviously, if we sell players, it'll help us with our rebuilding process, we'll generate money. And quite frankly, there's still deadwood at the football club. Like I said to you, we're looking to get rid of Lingard, we're looking to get rid of Andres Pereira, we're looking to get rid of Smalling, Rojo, Jones, Diego Dalot, like I said, Romero. So we've obviously got to sell players in this summer transfer window. And I did say, didn't I, that Solskjaer needs to put Dean Henderson as number 1 this season. Because like I've said on a lot of my other videos, I think Dean Henderson is now reliable enough to become our number 1 goalkeeper. Because Dean Henderson has got that experience behind him. Because he recently enjoyed 2 successful loans with Sheffield United. And we got Dean Henderson at the age of 14, so he has been part of the club for several years. Weren't so long ago, Dean Henderson signed a 6-year contract with the club worth 120 grand a week. But I think De Gea is going to remain our number 1 for at least the start of this season. David De Gea has been our number 1 for several years. This season is David De Gea's 10th season at Manchester United. But this summer transfer window is Solskjaer's 4th transfer window at the football club. So I don't really have a perception on him at the moment, but it's just very imperative that Manchester United do get back to winning ways. If the club did decide to sack Solskjaer, or who should come in to replace him. Obviously, Pochettino was relentlessly linked to a managerial role at Man United before Solsjaer got the job permanently in March last year. Like I said, Tino, there was talks of Massimiliano Allegri coming in. There's been some reports about Marcelo Bielsa, but obviously, he's not going to come to Manchester United, but we'll see. But I said, didn't I know this season is big for Solskjaer and Manchester United, because obviously this season Solskjaer's second full season at the football club, and he knows that he's got to exceed expectations if he is to remain in the Manchester United job. And Solskjaer was saying prior to the Crystal Palace game that we have got a lot of confidence going on into this season, from where we left off last season. Because last season, to be fair, Solskjaer did exceed most of his expectations. Obviously, we got qualification for the Champions League, and I did say how important Champions League was for our players, attracting players and for the financial structure. We also finished third. I think that's the second highest we've finished since Ferguson's retirement. And we also progressed to 3 semi-finals. The only expectation we didn't exceed last season was winning a trophy. And if Man United don't make any more signings in this summer transfer window, I think we'll be just expected to finish in the top 4 so we can get qualification for the Champions League again. I'm hopeful that we can win some silverware this season, because we've not yet won out in terms of silverware under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era, and we haven't won a trophy for over 3 years. The last time we won a trophy was under the Jose Mourinho era. We won the Europa League and League Cup, and that came in his first season, Jose Mourinho's. And I think for Manchester United to mount a title challenge up, we have got to make at least 2, maybe even 3 more signings in this summer transfer window. I'd like us to mount a title challenge up. We haven't won the Premier League since 2013. I've got to say as well, we are at least 3, maybe even 4, maybe even 5 years off winning the Premier League. You know what I mean? But we haven't mounted any title challenge up for the last 7 years. So that just proves how inconsistent we have been. But I said to you on one of my other videos, didn't I, what will represent a good season for Man United, and that's finishing in the top 2 or the top 3 and winning a trophy. But if we are to replicate performances this season like we did against Crystal Palace recently, then we're not obviously gonna do this. So far, Solskjaer has spent over £200 million at Manchester United. Last summer he brought Daniel James, and Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire in, and in January he brought Bruno Fernandes and he brought Odin Igalo in on loan. Recently brought Donny van de Beek in. He's also brought a few academy players into the football club. So it's good that more young players are coming in. There's a lot of good young players that are coming through at Man United. Since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer took over the reins at Manchester United in December 2018, he's had a habit of developing young homegrown talents. And he recently set a challenge for our academy players to replicate the likes of Mason Greenwood and Brandon Williams and others. We've got Teden Menge. He recently got promoted into the senior squad. He made his debut for us in the Europa League. Ethan Galbraith, he got promoted into the senior squad not so long ago. Hannibal Mejbra, if I pronounced his name correctly, he recently got promoted into the senior squad. We have loaned a few young players out, which is the right decision, so they can get regular first team football. To Heath Chong, he went out on loan to Werder Bremen. James Garner, I heard, is he gone out on loan to Watford? Dylan Levitt, he went out on loan to Charlton, and we loaned Joe Pereira out for another season. But don't get me wrong, I have seen improvements under the Solskjaer era. Like I said, the players he's brought in so far have been good. He's also got rid of a lot of the deadwood since he got recommended into Manchester United. We've seen a lot of players leave since he came in. We've seen the likes of Lukaku leave, Sanchez, Herrera, Fellaini, Darmian, Valencia, Young. Angel Gomez, like I mentioned, we loaned a few players out. Well, our recruitment did improve under Solsjaer. But obviously, in this summer transfer window, our recruitment has been absolutely gash. But in that aspect, that blame doesn't stem from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And like I said, I think, Solskjaer has promoted the youth well. There's definitely players that have improved under him. The likes of Martial's improved under him. Rashford's improved under him. Shaw's improved under him. Fred, McTominay, Matic have improved under him. Pogba did very, very well towards the end of last season. Donny van der Beek's done well since he's come in. I've been very impressed with Greenwood and Brandon Williams. And the signings he's brought in have done quite well. But don't get me wrong, there's still improvements needed. Like I mentioned, Solskjaer's got to improve his decision making. I still think there's aspects of our game that I've got to improve, and there's still certain players that I've got to improve at Manchester United, because there's some players that are not performing well. So they are the improvements we do need to see. You obviously know the news on Alex Telles from Porto. Like I updated you yesterday, Porto's boss came out and made an admission saying that, he can't assure that Alex Telles will be staying at Porto, but Alex Telles has said that he's not distracted by reports linking him with a move to Manchester United. Now, Fabrizio Romero did say that he expects him to depart Porto, and Mohamed Bouafsi from RMC Sport recently said that Alex Telles has agreed terms with Man United on a 5-year contract. I don't think any fees yet come to an agreement. Porto have said that they want around 18 million or just over 18 million pounds, but it's a cheap solution because Porto have just lowered their valuation, because before they wanted in the 20-odd million pound range for the player. Now, Telles has got around 10 months or just under 10 months left on his contract with Porto. So from a Porto perspective, they want to cash in for him in this summer transfer window rather than letting go on a free next year. I think Alex Telles has demanded around €4 million a year from Porto if he is to sign a new contract. But he is on our agenda. He's a left back, and I said it'd be very beneficial if Manchester United could get a left back in. We've only got two predominant left backs in the team at the moment, and that's obviously Brandon Williams and Luke Shaw. Obviously, Luke Shaw's our first choice left back, and Brandon Williams is our backup left back. Jadon Sancho, he's also our priority. Well, he's our number one priority target. The last time I read about Jadon Sancho, it says that Manchester United are set to launch a final bidding for Sancho and will offer around £60 million up front, with the remainder of the deal in add-ons. I heard recently that Sancho did not ask to leave Borussia Dortmund. But don't forget, Lucien Favre, their boss, had made an admission saying that Sancho will stay at Dortmund. Sebastian Kell, their sporting director, said that Sancho will stay at Dortmund. You had Fabrizio Romero saying that Sancho still wants to come to Old Trafford. David Ornstein from The Athletic said that the personal terms have been agreed. It mentioned that the agent fees have been agreed and a contract worth 250 grand a week has been agreed, but no fee has yet come to an agreement. Borussia Dortmund's valuation is £108 million. And throughout the course of this Jadon Sancho transfer saga, it has been Borussia Dortmund's asking price that has been the stumbling block, because we've not been determined to meet their asking price. For weeks now, we have been looking at a lot of alternatives to Sancho, because these actually know much cheaper solutions than him. But you can understand Solsjaer being frustrated over the Sancho saga. We've been in for him for like the last 3 years. But you can see that Solskjaer's trying to change the culture of the club and he's trying to improve the squad. And like I've said on my other videos, he is in a similar situation to what Mourinho was in. Because Mourinho made it clear to our board in the summer of 2018 that I wanted a centre-half in. Obviously never got that centre-half in, did he? But Mourinho did end up recommending 11 players into the football club. And must have spent around 400 million or just under 400 million pounds. I think Man United have got to get a centre-half in, despite the fact that we've got 7 centre-halves in the team. You know, we need someone to go alongside Harry Maguire in our back line because, quite frankly, Lindelof's not good enough. Eric Bailly's good, but, you know, he's just too injury-prone. Tuanzebe is obviously out of injury at the moment. He's another one of our backup centre-halves. Smalling, Rojo and Jones are all looking very likely to leave the football club but haven't left as yet. And I still think, you know, Manchester United do need a right winner. But we've recruited over 30 players in since Alex Ferguson's retirement. Under the Moyes era, we bought Marion Fellaini and Juan Mata in. So we only brought 2 players in under the Moyes era. Moyes only lasted like 8 or 9 months at Manchester United. Louis van Gaal, you know, he brought around 16 players into the club. He brought the likes of Romero in, obviously, who's still here now. He brought Victor Valdez in. He brought Herrera in. He brought Darmian in. He brought Rojo in. He brought Blind in. He brought Martial in. He brought Shaw in. He brought Falcao in. He brought Memphis Depay in. He brought Schneiderlin in. Sebastian Schweinsteiger. He brought Angel Di Maria in. So these are the players that Louis van Gaal had brought in. But a lot of the players Van Gaal brought in have now left the football club anyway. Van Gaal must have spent over 200 million at Manchester United. And as well, you know, we did win the FA Cup under the Louis van Gaal era. Like Mourinho, he brought 11 players in. You know, the vast majority of his team is Jose Mourinho's. There's only a few players that have left who Mourinho brought in, and that was Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez, weren't it? You know, Mourinho obviously brought Dalot in. He brought Lee Grant in. He brought Lindelof in. He brought Eric Bailly in. He brought Matic in. He brought Fred in. He brought Pogba in. He brought Lukaku in. He brought Mkhitaryan in. He brought Sanchez in. He also brought Ibrahimovic in. So, yeah, these are all the players that Jose Mourinho brought in. So, like I said, Tino, when Ole Gunnar Solsjaer first came in, he was inheriting a squad that was worth £700 million. This is obviously before Solskjaer made his signings at the football club. But we have had different managers with different philosophies, and we have spent close to the £1 billion range on these 30-odd players in the last 7 years. I think we spent a good, is it, 800, 900 million pounds on these. Obviously, our most expensive signing at the moment is Paul Pogba, who we paid £89 million for. Our second most expensive signing is Harry Maguire, who we paid £80 million for. Harry Maguire is the second most expensive signing at the club and the most expensive centre-half in the world at the moment. Lukaku's on that list because we paid £75 million for him. Di Maria is also on that list because we paid, was it over 60 million for him or just under 60 million if I can remember rightly. We paid 52 million for Fred, you know, got Matic for 40 million pounds. We got Wan-Bissaka in a deal worth 50 million pounds. So we have definitely spent big on players, and we've also got players on big contracts at the football club. You know, you've got David De Gea, that's the highest paid goalkeeper in the world and the highest paid at the club, on 375 grand a week. You've got now Dean Henson on 120 grand a week. You've got Pogba, who's on just under 300 grand a week. But if we get him a new long-term contract, then could become the highest paid player at Man United. I think Maguire's on 200 odd grand a week. Rashford's on like 200 odd grand a week. Martial's on 200 odd grand a week. Lingard's on around £100,000 a week. So yeah, got players on big contracts at the football club. So wait there a second. So yeah, and like I said, you know, we've got to give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer more time. at Manchester United. I always said we needed to give him another season anyway because it is a transition period and it has been a transition period for a while. But Solsjaer has learned quite a lot since he came in, don't forget. He has now got that managerial experience behind him because Man United is the third club in his managerial career, but he hasn't got a proven pedigree, and that's what my element of concern is. And some Man United fans think we need a manager with a proven pedigree, such as maybe Jurgen Klopp or the Pep Guardiola for prime example. I think Pochettino would suit the strappings of the club, but Pochettino hasn't obviously won out in terms of silverware, has he? Maybe Massimiliano Allegri would do a good job, if he was to come to Manchester United. But, we won't sack Solskjaer as yet. And we haven't really got the structure to keep sacking managers anyway because Man United are not known as a sacking football club. So anyway, guys, that's everything to update you today. Drop your comments, like, explore on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always. And take care. God bless. And I'll see you all again very, very soon.